Welcome to the latest printed press. I'm Aysen Djemal, and there is only 6 days left for the general election, and I'm very happy today to have Joanne Laban, Conservative candidate for Enfield North, with me today. Welcome, Joanne. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much for coming on my programme. Like I said, there is only 6 days left, and we're very excited about this general election, and it's great to see, like I said before the programme, a woman candidate, as always. Can you just first of all tell us how you got into politics? Give us a bit of a background.
Well, growing up I was always interested in the news and what was going on, and I was keen to see improvements in the local area. I've always lived in Enfield, and the only way you're going to shape improvements and be involved is if you're elected. My family did a lot of voluntary committees and so forth, and therefore it was that's why I felt that you either moan about it and do something or you won't be able to. Yes. So hence why I stood to be a councillor, and I was elected.
Okay, and you've been a councillor for how many years?
Since 2010.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. So we have got 6 days left.
We do.
How is the campaigning going?
It's been really upbeat and positive. People want to get Brexit done in order for the country to move on. There's a feeling that people have been talking about it for 3 years, and it's time to finally implement the outcome of the referendum and for the country to move on to tackle other issues.
Yes. Obviously, with 6 days left, what our public will want to know is your priorities. What are essentially your priorities as a Conservative MP?
Well, I want to, like I said, get Brexit done because I believe we need to have more police on the streets. The Prime Minister announced 20,000 extra police officers, and the recruitment round started before the election, so that would be good. I want people in Enfield North to feel safe, and that's the most important thing. So that's why policing is at the top spot. I know my GP surgery is in Enfield North, that sometimes it's not easy to get a GP appointment. It's very varied depending on what surgery you go to. So I'm pleased that the Prime Minister wants an extra 6,000 extra doctors and more support staff. So that'll be really good. The other thing is more money for local schools. I went to Bishop Stopford and Brimsdown School in Enfield North, and I think that school is all about aspiration as well as education, and it doesn't matter whether you come from a rich or poor background. If you have a good education, you can get the opportunities no matter what background you have, and education is key for me. I have teachers in my family and teaching support staff, and so therefore more money for local schools is something that I support. The Prime Minister wants more money per pupil funding, which will be raised, and that's something he's wanted to see since day one as Prime Minister, and I'm backing that all the way. I want to protect the environment. One of the nice things about Enfield in general, not just Enfield North, you can be on a high street or Enfield Town, for example, but then you can go to Forty Hall and enjoy all the parks and open spaces, and that's why I'm passionate about white webs, making sure that whatever happens to it in the future is something that the public and the residents agree with. And I'm also pro small business. I want to see supporting the high streets. Enfield North has many high streets, and the government wants to help with business rates of small businesses. So obviously a reduction on that will be helpful at this time, especially coming up to Christmas. So that's one of the reasons why you should be voting Conservative. But I know the Turkish Cyprus community is very entrepreneurial, have a lot of small business, and they should be backing the Conservatives because we are the party of small business.
Small businesses, yes. I'm going to go on to that. Obviously, Enfield North has got a lot of Cypriot community, especially Turkish Cypriot community, and a question that they will want to ask of you and to gauge your opinion is the fact that obviously we don't have touchdown flights to Northern Cyprus at the moment. What are your views about that generally?
Well, I think it's something that I will have to engage with the community about post election if I'm elected. I know it's to do with the recognition of Northern Cyprus.
Yes.
And clearly I understand I already got involved with looking into the Civil Aviation Authority's decision over when you fly into Turkey, you have to get out and you're searched, and then you have to get back on to fly in.
Right,
so I've already done work in that
and it's
field.
especially bad for our elderly. You know, it's quite difficult for them to have to get off the plane, have to be searched, be put back on. So really, it's something that really is affecting the elderly, especially in our local community with these flights.
I'd be very happy to look at why you have to get out and get searched in Turkey before you go on. And it's something that I would like to listen to your concerns about, because that would be my job. I know there is the issue of recognition, and it's not my job to go into that. That's an international status. I'll become your MP for a local area. I won't be as important as that, but I would be very happy to look at why now that you have to get off the flight and be searched in the way that you wasn't several years ago, because I know that's a change in what happens.
It is, yes. Okay, thank you for that. I mean, you just touched upon the fact that you do have connections with the Turkish Cypriot community and the businesses. Can we discuss that a little bit, just to inform our audience?
Well, I've, like I said, lived in Enfield all my life. I've had a lot of connections with the Turkish Cypriot community.
Yes.
I had Ertan Hira was a councillor, and he was my shadow cabinet member for finance, and Joanne Laban, and I've been to local small businesses in whether they're accountancy firms, mini marts, completely across the piece. And I think that, you know, the contribution that the Turkish Cypriot community make in Enfield through their work in small business is considerable. And considering the Conservatives are about helping small businesses, it really should be a no-brainer to be to be backing the Conservatives in this election. And I back small business. They make the high street, whether you're in an office-based environment or whether you're a retailer. We want to help you. We're helping with business rates, as I've said, and that shows our support. There's nothing I recognise more than people getting up in the middle of the night, day after day, invested in their small business and investing in the local community.
Yeah, I mean, I know with the business rates, that's a particular issue. I know there's a lot of shops actually closing down because they can't keep up with the business rates, and they're having to move their businesses elsewhere. So I think that would be a very good priority for businesses to try and help them with that, definitely, so that they don't move out of the area and they stay within the area. And obviously we touched upon the education, and you said that you're for the fact that pupil premium for each pupil should go up.
Yeah.
So that's how that would be resolved, obviously. And then, you know, because I've also noticed that inclusion teams within Enfield in schools is reducing, and inclusion is where, you know, children of special educational needs need a lot more support. So you'd be backing that, would you?
Yeah, the government wants to put more money into high needs, which is something I know the council was very good to see, and I know from my own background that that is very welcomed, and that will help with inclusion.
Yes, and also you touched upon within your priorities about policing, and you said you'd like to see more policemen out on the streets.
Yes.
So how would that happen?
Well, the Prime Minister announced 20,000 extra police officers, and each region has a number within that 22,000. They started a recruitment drive for the first round before the election was called, and that's what every region has to do. So, you know, you have Hertfordshire Police, you have the Metropolitan Police, and that's how the 20,000 will be recruited.
Okay.
And we will get a part of that, and that we will see an increase, and that's what we need. Boris was excellent as Mayor of London when it came to policing, and he reduced crime, especially knife crime, when he was first elected. There was a high rate of knife crime, and his team got on with the job straight away and started reducing it. And I think he'll be an excellent Prime Minister, and he will start on crime as he did as Mayor.
Also, I mean, I think definitely you've touched upon something very important for Enfield, is the fact that, you know, there is this rising crime within the youth. What else would you do? I mean, as well as putting police out there, of course that's very, very important, but there's also the flip side of engaging our youngsters.
Oh, yes.
You know, how would that work?
Well, I want more money. There is such a lot going on for young people in Enfield,
Yes.
but it's not necessarily run by Enfield Council, and sometimes people go, well, you know, the council's not doing this, but if you look at the amount of activities that are going on, it's huge. But I believe, as I said earlier, on education, and it's about getting aspiration and opportunity to young people, and the Conservatives are the party of opportunity. We want to see people in apprenticeships, going to university, and really having us tell them that they have a stake in not just the country but the local area, and if you get involved in knife crime you put that at risk.
Yes.
So I think it's a big drive within the education sector, and how we build in we've got T qualifications that's more involved in technical qualifications to get people into industry, and I think it's about driving up aspiration for young people, and sometimes I don't think they know how good they are and what a contribution they make to our community, and I think it's driving up young people's aspiration in the borough that they can really achieve.
And educating them as to where to go and what to do.
Yes.
You know, sometimes they don't actually know, do they, where to go, where to seek help. And there is, you know, it's just channeling their energy into the right places, really, definitely. So we've talked about your priorities. So the election is only 6 days away, as we keep saying. If you are elected, how would your surgeries work? How would that be?
Well, I would make sure that I would be very much a local member of parliament. As I've said, I live in the area, so if someone wanted to tell me off, they'd probably see me in the queue in the local shops. But I'd make sure I had a surgery in all places in the constituency. I would like to have one at Ordnance Road Library, if the council would allow me to, and also in the west of the borough, the constituency, so people on both sides of the A10 would have the opportunity to see me if they've got any issues they'd like me to help them with. As a councillor, I carry out a surgery. I always have done since I was elected, and I like the fact that people can feel that they can come with their issues to me. And I also do currently surgery on the train sometimes. If they see me going to work, as I normally do, it doesn't matter if it's 7:08 in the morning, people do, but then it's my job to do that, and I think that being approachable as both a councillor and an MP is really important.
It's good that you're using local transport as well, rather than your car, I guess. But obviously that's another issue that I think a lot of our local people struggle with, is the parking as well. So that's something else that maybe needs to be looked at as well. I don't know.
I am a big fan of cheaper parking. I have opposed many an Enfield Council proposal to increase parking charges. I believe that parking is important to the high street.
Yes.
For example, this Christmas, Barnet's having free parking times to support their local business.
Needs that as well.
And I would like Enfield Council to follow suit. I think that's a great idea. It shows our respect and support for the high street and small businesses. And at the end of the day, small businesses hire local people to work. They are part of not just Enfield, but the country's job creation, and they need to be supported and celebrated.
Okay, and we were talking about your canvassing. You've been out there. I mean, it's a busy time. How many steps did you say you did?
We always look, have you done your 10,000 steps a day? So I haven't added up completely, but I know it's probably in the hundreds of thousands now. I love knocking on doors, talking to people and the reactions. And the people are 99.9% really lovely, whether they're supportive of your party or not. Yes. And they tell you about local issues, but that's what all engagement's about. We're not going to be able to help you as community representatives if we don't know the issues. And sometimes people can complain at the television all the time, but they won't necessarily come to you formally at a surgery. Right, but when you knock on the door, they say, oh, and then they have that opportunity to talk to you. And it's not so great in the wind and rain. December isn't normally the best month to have an election. They're normally in April and June, but it has to be held. The Prime Minister was right. We do need the country to move forward, and we need a majority government, and that is important for our country. So yes, it's always good fun, tiring, But it's really nice to go out as a team, knock on doors and talk to local residents.
Residents, yes. And really it sort of brings me to the point of, I mean, statistically, apparently there's going to be more people voting this time round, but when I actually speak to people, like you said, on the ground level, they're saying that they're a little bit confused and they're not sure and they may not vote. What would be your message to those people who are unsure about voting?
Each year, I lay a wreath at the War Memorial on Chase Side in the Enfield North constituency to remember those who died for us, to have the